Greetings, I am 𝗀𝗋𝗃𝗲, metaphysical master in a millennial age, and it is my life's purpose to guide you and organizations along an enlightened path. So I invite you to sit comfortably and tune in as I welcome you to the Meta Business Millennial, where we get the real conversations you won't get in the boardroom so that we understand this is exactly the path we need to be on in order to grow, evolve, and thrive. Greetings, I am 𝗀𝗋𝗃𝗲, also known as Master L, and welcome to today's episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast. We are live across platforms, y'all. We're on now TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook. Wherever you are, I'm going to be there, okay? I'm going to be there. And if you haven't already, I invite you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and follow me across social media at I am 𝗀𝗋𝗃𝗲. And of course, I would be so honored if you shared this message with a friend, because we all need each other, sisters out here. Don't we need a friend? Don't we need a sister? And we definitely need a good message. And I feel like I just want to jump right in today. I'm like talking really fast because I just want to get to the meat of the situation, because I am always inspired, of course, by the topics that I bring to you guys. And I'm always sharing my life with you all and the healing journey that goes along with it, so that we all can heal collectively together and make this world a better place. Okay, that's really my intention. And I know this is the Meta Business Millennial Podcast, but we cannot show up well in our businesses. We cannot show up well in our careers if our relationships, if our love lives, if our family lives are in disarray, period. And I remember telling that to one of my executive coaches years ago when I was going through the chaos of my life that I always share with you guys, particularly in my dark night of the soul. And I was just like, I can never be a billionaire if my home is chaotic. And I mean, I understood that. And now that I know it on a meta level, on a metaphysical level, what that means, this is exactly why I do the work that I do. And I share it with all of you. And I just love that you all are jumping into the room. I see that y'all are like, keep shining, just tapped in to show love. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I just want to go ahead and, like I said, jump into today's topic about relationships, and specifically today's messages around toxicity and Black relationships. Because, I mean, I've been there. You've been there. We all been there. It doesn't matter if you're Black or not. Yet, because the nature of my programming is really targeted to Black women, I want to make sure that we are clear around what is happening to us and how we can, first of all, become aware of it, like see the red flags, listen and learn from the red flags and move past it and heal. And so this is essentially what inspired today's conversation, because of what I've been through, the wounds that it left on my being and on my heart, and why I'm choosing to heal instead of continuing the cycle of toxicity. I always share here that, like, my dream is to have, my lifelong partner, to have a beautiful family, to really live a happy, healthy life, like happy ever after. Duh. We're all promised that from God. Yet God knows, and we know that we have to do the work to get there. Okay. So let's start by really looking at the problem, understanding the problem like we always do with facts or anecdotal stories, and then we can kind of go from there. So without further ado, I want to show you guys this video of this podcast, of these gentlemen talking and what they have to say about women and their relationship with women. And so we can kind of get both sides, because I believe that the toxicity it's not a one-way street. It's certainly a two-way street. And the more we can understand how men are thinking, and men can understand how we're thinking, and we can open up those dialogue connections, then we can start to move to higher, better quality relationships. So let's go.
Do you think there's a point in time you can be vulnerable with a girl? Like if it's your wife or a long-term girlfriend, like do you think you can show emotion like eventually?
It's better if you don't.
Ever? At all?
It's better if you don't.
Okay.
As soon as you drop your guard down, then you're gonna become slightly unattractive. Every time you do that, the more vulnerable you show yourself, the more that she's gonna doubt you as the leader. Think about it like the way you view the president. Like the more you see the president break down and be vulnerable, you're like, is this guy really gonna be able to go to war? Is this guy, should we follow this guy? Should we vote for him for the next election? You should see your man as somebody that's going to lead you. And if he shows weakness, then he's not capable of being the leader that he.
He's not capable of being the leader that he needs to be. So this gentleman just stated that by not showing any vulnerability, then he essentially appears weak to his woman. Okay, first of all, let's break down the definition of vulnerability, because I think this is a point that gets misconstrued. And of course, I'm sure a lot of people have different definitions of vulnerability. So as I always am, I'm very welcome to your thoughts, your ideas around what vulnerability means to you. And I want to share what vulnerability means to me, okay? So vulnerability to me reflects honesty, transparency. It reflects an expression of how I feel, a truth expression of how I feel or how you feel. And it enables a connection on an emotional level. So it enables a connection beyond what we can see with the physical eye, because we're actually hearing it told by you from your mouth of how you feel. And the fact that today's men, particularly younger men, perceive vulnerability as a weakness to disclose to someone how you truly feel, to me, is a reflection of insanity and or a mental illness, if you know nothing else. Because how can it be weak for you to express to someone how you honestly feel? And to me, how can you actually be a leader, whether if you're the man or the woman, because I know that women and women play different roles in relationships in terms of leadership. How can I follow you if I can't trust the direction in which you're going, because you're never clear about which direction we're going? Because you're hiding and secreting, being secretive about how it is that you're feeling. So to me, that truly undermines the baseline of trust when you're not vulnerable, when you're not disclosing, when you're not being honest, when you're not showing up in truth. That's vulnerability. And when you're not doing that, that to me means you're lying, you're manipulating, you're betraying me. So I really want us to start to understand more deeply, what does it mean to be vulnerable? And then on top of that, why is the vulnerability perceived as weakness? And so with that, I want to continue on to this next clip, and we can continue to explore the psyche of what contributes to the toxicity and the toxic thinking, because essentially the underlying assumptions, the baseline assumptions, are false and wrong. Let's have a look.
Life for a man is harder than life for a woman. We need to have a lot of shit to be an important man. To be a woman, you need makeup. If you're truly beautiful, you don't need anything else. I've been on boats in Dubai with 19-year-old Moldovan girls. The guy who got that boat needed $100 million. That bitch, makeup. Same boat. That's how hard it is. Look at a game of chess. The king moves one square at a time. What does the queen do? Zips here, zips there.
Easy for a chick, huh? It's easy for us. That's what he said. Easy my ass. You know, that's how I really feel about that. And I love too that he brought up the game of chess, because I have started to also reflect on the game of chess in my own life and what it truly means for the king to, and the entire board, to be protecting the queen. And when you're thinking about the role of the queen, the role of the woman, the role of the feminine, she is supposed to be in her fullest expression. So when he talks about zipping across the board, making all these moves, because that is actually a feminine characteristic, is expression. And the masculine actually holds the boundaries for that expression. So the king is able to direct and determine which direction can my queen go and be in her fullest expression. You know, she wants to dance, she wants to paint, she wants to laugh, she wants to play with the kids, she wants to have kids. She needs to be safe having those kids and feel safe having those kids. The kids need to be safe and zip around. So the king needs to hold those boundaries. The masculine needs to hold those boundaries for the queen, the feminine, to be in her fullest expression. Not that it's easy for her. Actually, it's not easy for her to be in her fullest expression when we're having to compete with men or men competing with us, which I think is happening a lot in today's relationships, which is making it toxic. We're very unclear about who role is what. And I see that reflected so much across memes on Instagram, where you're seeing the women are like doing all the things that guys used to do, like opening the doors and paying for the meals and doing. I was that chick too. And particularly coming out of like the feminist movement, like I really thought that it was okay for the woman to play the very masculine role. And I talked about that in previous podcast episodes. It was completely normal for me, actually, to take care of a man and hold the boundaries and make sure he was safe and protected. But now I desire something completely different for my relationships. And I hope that other women out there are too, which is why we're here and discussing and talking about this, because essentially what we're seeing and what we're hearing from men, and I mind you, I'm not like judging this Andrew Tate. I'm not judging these gentlemen on that podcast before. Remember, we listen, we don't judge. We listen and we understand. We reflect, we see how it can serve or disserve our lives, and then we learn from it, particularly if we're dealing with it. And we're dealing with men in the collective, men on social media, men and who we interact with, who actually think and behave in this manner. And it is up to us to choose, okay, do I want to be with someone who thinks that I have it easy, who just willy-nilly calls me a bitch, like I just need to wear makeup or not wear makeup to be cute or to have nice things? Because frankly, the guy did pay $100 million, but that's his fucking boat. And that girl gets to be on it for what, a few hours to hang out? You know, maybe she gets to be his girlfriend for a few months. But it's his boat. It's his asset. He can use it for all kinds of things, for leveraging, for getting money, for having all kinds of events. He can do a lot with that boat. What can she do with it? It's not his. It's not hers. Excuse me. It's not hers. So a lot of essentially what he's saying too is, it sounds to me as if it's coming from a wounded place. He got hurt at some point in his life, whether it's mommy wounds, daddy wounds, and it's reflected in his relationships with men, with women, and it continues to shape his narrative and his programming and his reality, which over time he's going to see is very warped and very corrupted. So here we are trying to dissect that which is the warped and corrupted mindset around the wounded masculine, what I call the distorted dark masculine, that manipulates, controls, the narcissists that, you know, take advantage of that which the woman has to give. And it's not money all the time. And it's not the things that the man does. The feminine is much more of a nurturing, emotional creature. And we need to come to understand that. So with that, let's get into this next video.
One of the 4 predictors of divorce, according to the Gottman Institute, is contempt. Contempt is the belief that you are inherently better than your partner. You know better, you do better, you just are better. And everything you say and do comes from this perspective that you are superior
to your partner. That you are superior to your partner. Everything comes from that view, is what she was saying. And that is essentially, she brought up sort of like I said, the technical term of where that comes from, in this view of contempt in relationships, where it can go either way, where the woman feels superior to the masculine, to the man, or the one partner feels superior to the other partner, and and it can go either way, because relationships come in many different forms. Let me just be explicit about that too. And clear, because I'm accepting of all types of relationships here. And so what I really want to get at are the mindsets that people can hold while in these relationships, whether they think someone is having it easy or they're superior to someone, or they don't want to be vulnerable because they feel like they're going to be seen as unattractive or weak. So we really want to start to see these different mindsets that people carry in relationship with one another, so that we can determine when we see these red flags or when we're experiencing it ourselves, like, wow, this is something that I need to start to heal. And we're, of course, as I do in all my podcasts, get into the healing aspect, but it's really important for us to see these different characteristics, if you will, or mindsets around what relationships can be or are in a toxic scenario. And so, essentially, I want to also say, if this is something that you're struggling with in terms of navigating these toxic relationships, definitely drop me a comment. Let me see how I can help you in terms of, navigating the nuances of it and calling it out. Because I think sometimes the hardest part about toxic relationships is not being able to see the individual clearly. And I know that was one of my downfalls, is that I really wanted to believe the lies that someone told me, and I really couldn't see the narcissistic ego structure that person carried, because I just am such a rose-colored lens type of person. Like, I always see the best in people. I'm always imagining the best for people, and I'm not able to really see that which is there in front of me. And so certainly drop me a comment, shoot me a DM. We can have a call and start to kind of get at like what it is that you're going through, particularly in your toxic relationship, that you believe that's keeping you trapped, essentially. Because a lot of these are traps and they stem from generational trauma, okay? And I was talking about this just this morning when I posted it on my Instagram story. I already had people like DMing me, like, we need to talk. Because people are definitely doing therapy around their relationships, particularly at our age. Like, I'm 40, and with a lot of my friends, we're 30s, 40s. So we have gone through the crazy years of our 20s and those relationships and what that meant. And people have been in and out of marriages, or coming out of marriages now. And what people have been doing is therapy, talk therapy, really kind of working through the what I believe to be more of the surface aspects of their decision making. And essentially, the difference between therapy and what I do is I get to the root of that which is attracting that toxicity, that toxic nature to begin with, because everything is vibrational. And I talked about this in previous episodes, and I don't necessarily have a picture here, but we are energetic beings. We have, like I shared before, our etheric layer, our astral layers, our emotional layers, our mental layers, our celestial layers, all the way up to our etheric layer. So we have at least 7 spiritual bodies that we're working with. And in these energies exist traumas, exist wobbles, if you will, inconsistencies in our energy. And all of that comes from either our past lives, it comes from our DNA, from our generational inheritance, what we inherit from our family line. It comes from the society, the programming that which we're raised up in, which I've talked about too, the media impacting our thoughts and how what we see these guys talking about and how people actually learn and socialize around relationships. So there are so many layers to how we are showing up that isn't us. It's ours, but it's not ours. It's how I say it as an individual. It's mine, but it's not me. So it's yours, but it's not you. Okay, does that make sense? So these thoughts, these experiences, these traumas are yours, but they're not you. Okay, so we have to see what is then mine. Okay, I have these inconsistencies. I have this trauma. I've been attracting the same type of toxic masculine, toxic man my whole fucking life. Like, how do I then clear this? Okay, that is where the energy work comes in, and that cannot be done in therapy. Okay, so when we start to get to the generational things, the generational traumas, we have to start looking at the metaphysical aspects of our being, the energy of ourselves, and how do we start to shift that to come into the divine feminine and the divine energy that we are. And with that, let's get inspired a little bit by what I mean by divine feminine energy.
People often ask me what it means to be a divine feminine. Simply put, Divine femininity is receptivity through devotion. As a divine feminine, through your devotion to God, and therefore through your devotion to the development of your own soul, you become magnetic, you become attractive, you vibrate on the same frequency of your.
Yes, you vibrate on the same frequency as your desires when you're a divine feminine, okay? And I wanted to show you all that because this is essentially where we're moving into, and why I wanted to bring up so much of this information around the toxic masculine, the toxic feminine, even the distorted dark masculine, the distorted dark feminine, because like I said, it goes both ways. This toxicity is a two-way street. We're not blaming anyone. We're not judging anyone. We are just seeing things as they are, seeing the shit for what it is, and then making the necessary adjustments within our own being to grow. And I want to start, of course, before getting into the solutions, with my own personal narrative, because I love to share my own stories. And I have to say that more recently, I was in like a situationship, if you want to call it that. And it really shook me because I was realizing that I wanted something that the other person didn't want at all. However, the other person didn't have the courage to tell me. So I felt like I was just being consistently led on, even, having conversations that I thought were about the future. And turns out, he was just saying it to say it, I guess. Like, he didn't really mean it. Like, he even said that when we kind of had our breakup conversation. And it tore me to pieces because I just felt so betrayed. I felt so stupid. And it really just was, it was a life-altering, literally, situation where I never wanted to be in again, where I felt like the communication lines were just too unclear. And that's why I played that first video, because the vulnerability on his side was not there at all. And so I was left to assume a lot about how he felt and about how he wanted our relationship to go into the future. And you know what they say about assuming: you make an ass out of you and me. Okay. So the reason why too, I'm even talking about this and wanting to get into this so much because it affected me so deeply. Like, it's really changed how I'm approaching all of my relationships going forward. Like, there has to be so much clarity. There has to be so much vulnerability and expression and feelings, and not to the point where it's unattractive, because I do get that point that he says that, it can be unattractive to appear too weak. But at the end of the day, I want to be able to be in a safe space with my partner where I can say how I feel and be heard. And, that takes a lot of energy, and it takes a lot of courage. And most importantly, it takes a lot of love for myself. That I had to be the healthy masculine for me. Okay. And I believe that this is like an awakening that I'm coming to just in general as part of my spiritual journey, and particularly the 𝗂𝗄𝗄𝗲 journey, which we've talked about before in terms of the mystic marriage of the masculine and the feminine energies in my bodies, in our spiritual bodies. And in order for me to be able to attract someone that is of a divine union template for me, I need to be married within me. My masculine and feminine energies need to be balanced. Okay. And that takes time to get to that point because we've been so used to not having boundaries, to saying yes, to doing all the things, to give your all to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I give my all when I'm in a relationship with someone. I was thinking about that. It's like I gave my all to this person, and this person was like not even seeing me as girlfriend material. You know what I'm saying? Like, not even like I was a situationship, literally. So to me, like that misalignment in vision, that misalignment in values, it just wasn't communicated well. We just were not communicating well. And I know that, different relationships and different situations look different for different people. But for me, this one just really caught me off guard because I just thought that I had been doing so much work and I've been healing so well and I've been really great at, communicating. And this one just took me out, literally. And so the toxicity is certainly real. It's something that I have personally experienced in terms of being manipulated and being lied to and being sold a dream that was not even a dream. It was just to get me in bed. And, of course, I fell for it, which is why I'm here to teach and share and grow with you. Because oftentimes I feel like we're so quick to jump in and give our all, when in reality, maybe that person just needed a dinner and that's where it needed to stop there, And so we need to be able to understand the signs, these tactics, if you will, or the ways of thinking, and then also be clear about how we think, what we want, what we desire. To our Queen's point around vibrating on the level of your desires, being really clear about what it is that you desire. Is it just a hookup? Is it just a situationship? Or do you want something deeper and greater? That's a question you really need to ask yourself, because that's something that I thought I was clear about with myself, but was not very clear with my own being. Okay. So in many ways, we manipulate ourselves first, and then we got and manipulated by somebody else and be mad. Okay. That's real talk. So if we are not honest first with ourselves and then honest with that person, then, we can't expect honesty from anybody else. Okay. So I don't know how this resonates with you guys, but if this resonates, please shoot me a comment, shoot me a DM. Let me know, and we can continue to have this conversation either here or offline, because I love to continue to dive into ways in which we can continue to heal and grow and show love for ourselves and everyone around us. And so with that, I really want to start talking about how we can get to and through that divine feminine embodiment, so that we can make sure that we are protected and that we are loved and we are safe in our dating pursuits. Okay. So I want to pull up this step-by-step graphic. All right. And it's just a really simple step-by-step, and I'm going to go through and describe each of them, but I wanted to just offer some really quick tips and really quick words for you to lock in when you're thinking about, how do I start to embody more of my divine feminine so that I can attract my divine mate and really live the life and have the love life and have the relationship of my dreams, so that I can really show up in my work, in my careers, fully, feeling fulfilled, feeling like I'm not lacking, showing up even in dating situations where I don't feel like I'm lacking. The truth is self-awareness. And so you want to be true to yourself. The second piece is the healing, which is forgiving your judgment. The third piece is to surrender, which we talked about, be honest and vulnerable. The fourth is the chaos, which comes when you start to awaken and clearing some of the karmic energies, essentially the tests that are testing your awareness, your forgiveness, and your honesty. And then once you kind of pass those chaos tests, then in the karmic test, then you're moving into integration, which is the full embodiment of the balanced masculine and feminine energies. Okay. So let's talk about that, because that was a mouthful, and I feel like it's very new to a lot of you all. So I want to spend some time digging into each of these. And so essentially, when you're talking about that number one piece, the truth, the self-awareness, it's about acknowledging to yourself, okay, either you're in the toxic situation or you've attracted toxic situations and you're wanting to move into something that is more pure, that is more life-giving, that is more life-affirming. That is the first step. And a lot of times people not there, okay? People really accept the status quo, accept what has been, because it actually feels safe for them. Okay? It feels familiar, the toxicity. And this is something too that actually took me years to come out of because the toxicity was so familiar. It actually was just what I was used to. So to feel, attacked, to be attacked by my partner, to be, cursed out, to be, sometimes pushed around or taken advantage of, actually, what it didn't feel bad to me. It actually was acceptable, and that's why I allowed it. Okay. And I'm not saying that, and again, we listen, we don't judge. There's no good or bad about this. It's just where I was. I saw it played out in my family life. I saw it, played out, in other areas of my life. And, like I said, in media, we're seeing, like I said, the single Black woman getting, cheated on, abused, all the things. Mary J. Blige, every song she's singing, I'm going down. Every song is about Kelly Price. All of these R&B songs that we grew up singing as little kids were like mantras for a sad love song. Toni Braxton, another sad love song. We were just conditioned to accept the sadness and abuse that came with love, so-called love. And this is my truth. And I understand that for me, I just couldn't accept it anymore. Even though I allowed it still, it just didn't feel right in my being. I would be sick. I would be unhappy. I would be crying. And I spent a lot of money and time and investment on my healing journey and, my Tai Chi and my yoga. I was doing all of these things to try to understand why I was so unhappy. And I was choosing very abusive men to be in my life and allowing it. So essentially, it is about having that awareness that, wow, I am making this choice over and over again. And I'm too old for this shit. So something has to change. Okay? So the first step is the awareness. And then the second step is then forgiving, which is the hard part, the healing. The second piece, like I said, is the healing. And so when we start to get into that healing, it really comes in that forgiveness of self. Because one thing about this last relationship that I was in or navigating through, I was so hard on myself for even liking the dude in the first place. I was so mad that I allowed myself to fall for such bullshit. I couldn't even get over being mad at myself for liking him. So there was this double punishment essentially that I was placing on myself. So first of all, I'm being punished because the situation sucks and he's treating me like shit. And I'm a second, third, fifth class citizen in his life and get stomped on top of that. And not only am I being treated poorly by him, now I'm also beating myself up for liking him in that toxic situation. So I'm double harming myself. That's just not cool. And a lot of us do that. And a lot of us don't even realize it. So one piece that really helped me to start coming out of the deep, deep sense of pain in it was really to go to God. Because I didn't have any control of my emotions. I realized this. And that was the part that was really hard for me, that I judged the most, is why can't I shut these fucking emotions off? Why won't they go away? Like literally, that's why I would be so angry at myself for liking someone. And so I literally had to go to God and just begin to pray over myself. Pray for clarity. I asked God, God, give me clarity. Like, why am I in this situation? What am I supposed to learn from this? Help me to move through it quicker. And I swear to you, the day I did that, I got exactly what I asked for. I spent that whole time mad, talking to my friends, texting him, like going through the ringer. The moment I went to God in prayer and for clarity and sincerity with a sincere heart, I got exactly what I needed. No, that didn't make my emotions go away. No, that didn't make the hurtful feelings go away. However, it started to catalyze the healing process. Step 2, going to God almost in repentance, like, God, here, this is what I'm going through. Not necessarily these are my sins, like not in that way, but God, this is what I'm going through. This is, the mistakes that I've made. Help me to see where I went wrong. Help me to learn from it, grow from it. Okay. So really starting to utilize your prayer time for conversation with God and with yourself. Asking God to come with me today in this journey. As I walk through it, as I talk to him, as I talk to other people, show me more. Allow me to see with your eyes. That's one thing I love to say to God. Allow me to see with your eyes. And God will make sure you see clear. You ask and it is given. Okay? So that's the second piece. And then the third piece is the surrender. Okay? The honesty, the vulnerability. Because when you start to see, then you have to be honest with yourself. And this is like the part that's really like, you gotta breathe, you gotta take your salt baths, you gotta go for your walks, you gotta go to the gym, you gotta eat good. Don't drown yourself in alcohol. Don't drown yourself in the stuff. Don't drown yourself in the pits of hell. Because this surrendering part is the part where you really start to feel all those emotions, especially as a woman. This is our gift actually from God, is to have that intuition, to have these feelings, to have the energy in motion. That's what emotions are. Energy in motion. And as I was talking to you guys last week about healing, I started going to my acupuncturist and realized like I was getting my acupuncture, and usually I just go for tune-ups. I literally had blocks in my body because when you put the needles in, literally my arm like went into like electric shock, like because we are electric beings. So to me, in the acupuncture space, that was a signal that there was some trapped energy in my body, particularly in my heart. It was in my heart channel where I had the electric shock in my arm. And I went to my acupuncture, and this is where I was really wanting to just be honest and surrendering, just like give it to God, on the acupuncture table, and being able to see and experience and feel the energy blockages in my being, the pain in my body, the weakness in my just energy field, just weak. From feeling drained, from crying, from being unhappy, from feeling betrayed. All of those things start to come up. And that's when we've forgiven ourselves, we're not judging ourselves, but we're being honest and vulnerable with ourselves about what we've been through and how we need to get out of it. And that surrendering, that vulnerability, that expression, if you will, of truth starts to really accelerate the awakening. Okay. And that's the chaos. And so I'm walking through it with you guys so you can see it again. But we talked about the self-awareness. We talked about forgiving your judgment, the healing piece, and then the surrendering. You're giving it to God. You went to God for the healing. You're asking for forgiveness for yourself, for your judgments against yourself. Essentially, that's what you're forgiving. And then the surrendering is then, okay, God, allow me to see and feel the truth of the situation. And the truth of the situation, it's not always pretty, okay? You start to see, oh, wow, I believe that. Oh, wow, he did do that. Oh, wow, damn, I'm saying? This is happening now. Oh, wow, I'm seeing this now. Things just start to get revealed to you. And this is the honesty part. This is the vulnerability part. Like I said, the transparency, the part of being seen. That's what intimacy is, actually. Into you, I see. Into me, I see intimacy. So when we start to do that work of the surrender, that's when we start to unlock the power, which is called chaos here, for lack of better words, but I could call it, but essentially it's awakening and clearing the karmic energies. Because a lot of times, like I said before, what we're going through is generational trauma. These are things that have been in our lineage, in our line for millennia. That's why our parents went through this. That's why our grandparents went through this. And I'm sure their parents and their parents. And why they really couldn't teach us any better. Past life shit we're carrying. But the more we start to surrender and clear and be honest about this, then we can start to awaken those dormant energies that really begin to unlock the divine feminine power. Okay? So as we start to move into that chaos field, we start to have more of these experiences that then test our abilities to be aware, to forgive, to be honest, to surrender. We get tested, of course, and we know that, and we're grateful for it because God needs to see our heart and know it's pure. We get tested, and we get rewarded when we show up in truth and goodness and righteousness. There's never a failing on this journey, which is what's so beautiful about it. And the more we begin to understand, because I talked about free will before, yes, we have choice, but the more that we're doing this work, we want our choices to be in alignment with God's choices for us. We want our free will to yield to the point around surrender to God's will for us. And this to me was one of the most powerful realizations I've had from this experience around toxicity. Why I wanted to be with that man so bad, I don't know. But that was not God's will for me. That was my biggest lesson. I felt like this person was like my soulmate. It was probably something karmic, obviously on a soul level. We were brought into each other's lives for a reason. It didn't work out because it wasn't God's will for me. That was super hard to accept. I was so mad at God. Like, how could I have these feelings if this is not what you want? It's a lesson, Aaron. Okay? That's the clearing of the karmic lesson, the clearing of the generational trauma. You felt safe with someone who treated you like shit. I had to get that out of your life and for you to see it and feel it and know it. That's how it works, okay? And that moves us then to our last piece around the integration, the embodiment of the divine masculine and feminine energies balanced, okay? And this is what I believe many of us are not truly aware of. It's not really talked about even in social media because I was trying to find clips to help, entertain and support and go along with this. But this is why I'm here, is to bring this new teaching to you. And the embodiment of this balanced masculine and feminine energy is the 𝗂𝗄𝗄𝗲, is the manifestation of the mystic marriage. It is exactly that which we are arcing towards and achieving in this day and time, particularly as Black women. We have the ability to, why not go for it? And so when we are able to balance this masculine energy in our bodies, then we're able to protect our little girls, our little girl energy. We're able to be in our fullest expression, be safe and secure, and then attract the man of our dreams. Attract the man that can hold space for that too, that expression that we can share with, that we can love with, that can love on us, nurture us, protect us, provide for us, set boundaries for us to be able to be in our fullest expression. And when I say set boundaries for us, I hope that wasn't taken out of context, but essentially to be able to create the space with his being for us to be ourselves. That's what that means. Him being able, like, whether you're walking through the park and I want to do a cartwheel and he's just like, you go, girl. That's holding a healthy boundary for my expression, okay? Instead of being like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? Like, you're so, like, I've been in some situations where everything I did was a problem. Everything I did was a problem, or judged or ridiculed or put down. That's not holding a healthy boundary for my expression. That's toxic. Why I always felt safer than with my girlfriends, because I can just be myself. I can't be myself with guys. that I liked. I was with the wrong guys. I was liking on the wrong people. So essentially, we would, yes, and here's, thank you for a masculine approach. Create a safe space for you to fully be yourself around him. Absolutely. That's it. That's what a healthy boundary is. It's not about controlling. It's not about telling me what to wear, where I should go, how long I should stay out. It's just about being able to create a safe space for me to be my fucking self. Wear what I want, do what I want, talk how I want, and be okay with it. Of course, in respectful context, not disrespecting anybody, not disrespecting myself, most importantly. And so I really love that you brought that up, Rashad, because that was like perfect for this. And we were actually just talking about this. And this is essentially when we know that we are starting to embody more of that divine feminine energy. When we're able to attract men in our lives, romantic partners, friends, work colleagues, whatever it looks like, the men in our lives that support us in our fullest expression and not want to take advantage of us in the process. That is healthy boundaries. That is healthy relationship. And so many of us, that eludes us. We don't have that experience. And it's not necessarily sad anymore. I used to be like, this is so sad, and but it is what it is. It is where we are. And now we learn from it. We have the awareness and we grow and evolve and we thrive. That's why I'm here. And if you're wanting to grow and evolve and thrive, then holler at me, because I have already been talking with women this morning. I'm working on a program that I'm going to be launching in March called the Soulful Accelerator, where we're really going to be diving very deeply into the spiritual roots of conflict that prevent us from having good relationships, that prevent us from stepping into our fullest power as entrepreneurs, as business leaders. And this is the work that we do on an energy level, a metaphysical level, even deeper than therapy, that allow you to be your best self at all times. And yes, the program is called Soulful Accelerator. So definitely stay tuned to that. And I just want to invite you, if you haven't already, if all of this starts to resonate with you, please DM me, comment on this video, follow me at I am Erin Patton. And of course, you can check out my website, erinpatton.com, where there are so many more resources about my offerings that you can engage with. I have quizzes, I have downloads, I have all kinds of things, more podcast episodes that you can really begin to grow on your own spiritual journey. And I want to hear from you as you do it, okay? So with that, I just want to thank you so much for tuning into this episode. It really was just like so much fun. As usual, I'm kind of like nervous going into these conversations because they're all kind of fresh and new for me. And they're all also hinging upon my own life experiences, which I don't mind sharing. And this one kind of was, a newish situation that I was coming out of, but I was like, fuck it. Like I was going through this. I know there are other people out here that were going through this, and we can all learn from it and understand what it is that we need to do as women, as divine feminine rising, to protect ourselves, to love on ourselves, and to get through these relationships, particularly toxic relationships, behind us. Let them go, grow from them, learn from them, and never have to deal with them ever again in your existence. Okay? Never again in your existence. How sweet does that sound? All right, you guys. Well, that concludes my show for today. And I love you all so much. Until next episode, peace. Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, erinpatton.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.